Palpatine, the deck that never dies, and just maybe the new aggro deck to beat. Hello and welcome to the table, and today I'm going to be doing a deck tech video for Chancellor Palpatine / Darth Sidious. This deck is absurd, mainly wanting to rush the opponent down because, yes, this is a red Palpatine list. I thought it'd be blue, I thought it would be the best version of Palpatine, but from what I can tell, red seems to be the best. So in this deck, you're wanting to rush the opponent down as much as possible, but don't worry. If your aggressive game plan does not work, you can pivot into your mini sub-theme of discarding your opponent's hand, just forcing them to get rid of their entire hand, dealing damage to the opponent's things, making sure that you control both sides of the arena, and just make sure that your opponent never gets a unit down, because if they can't get units down, if they don't have cards in their hand, they can't win. So, let's get into it, starting things off with Chancellor Palpatine / Darth Sidious and himself, talking about what the card's wanting to do, and kind of giving you a general idea of what this deck does. So, to start things off, I got Chancellor Palpatine, which this side must be the leader that starts face up, and as an action you can exhaust him, and if a friendly heroic white unit has been defeated this phase, you get to draw a card, heal 2 from your base, and then flip Chancellor Palpatine into Darth Sidious, which is yellow and black, instead of yellow and white on the front. But then Darth Sidious reads, as an action you can exhaust him, and if you've played a black card, a villainous card this phase, you get to create a 2/2 clone trooper token, that's white, that's heroic, and you deal 2 damage to each opponent's base, and then you flip Darth Sidious back to Chancellor Palpatine. So basically what you're wanting to do, you're not getting a unit side for this leader, which is unfortunate, but you get to flip back and forth between Palpatine and Sidious, going back and forth, just getting value. All you really need to do is have one of your heroic things die to start the train, because once you do that, you just keep making things that are heroic with the clone troopers if you play a villainous card. So you basically just want to start the train, have one of your heroic things die early on, which is very easy to do in a aggressive deck, because, I mean, your opponent wants to kill because they do too much damage, and I'm like, no, I don't want to die. So, So, let's get into things, starting off with the main game plan of the deck and all the main cards of the deck, the stuff that rushes the opponent down. The main card that supports this strategy, and one of the most powerful cards and the most key card in the deck, not the most key card, but one of the most key cards in the deck, is Fighters for Freedom. A red and white, 3-cost, 3/4 Saboteur body that reads, whenever you play a red card, an aggressive card, you may deal 1 damage to a base. Simple as that. It just deals more guaranteed damage to the opponent, and that's not a bad thing in an aggressive list. And this deck has a ton of aggressive cards, so yeah, you're going to be pinning the opponent a lot with this card, which also you can play multiple of, so you can have this ability stack. So yeah, that's fun and totally fair. But then getting into the next card, I got Death Star Stormtrooper, a 1-cost, red and black, 3/1. Awesome. Just a solid body. I mean, it's not heroic, so that is a slight downside, but realistically, I mean, it's still a 1-cost, 3/1 body. That's just good, because, I mean, aggressive deck, Then I got a Soldier of the 501st, a 1-cost, red and white, 1/3 with raid 1, which is awesome. Then there's Sabine Wren, a 2-cost, red and white, 2/3, that so long as you have 3 or more aspects among units you control, this cannot be attacked unless it has Sentinel. So hey, it's harder to kill, maybe not necessarily a great thing when you want your heroic stuff to die, but realistically, I mean, when you play this, the opponent's going to be able to attack into it, because you're not going to be able to get 4 aspects out that quickly necessarily in this deck, or 3 aspects rather, but in addition to being a 2/3 that sometimes is hard to kill, whenever Sabine Wren attacks, you deal 1 damage to the defender or the base. So 2/3, that's in a sense a 3/3, which, not a bad thing from what I've been told. Then there's Lothal Insurgent, a 2-cost, yellow and white, 3/2 that when played, if you've played another card this turn, each opponent discards a random card from their hand. So yeah, Lothal Insurgent, while not looking super, powerful at first, it is an amazing card because it's something that is going to die very easily, you know, because it only has 2 health. It also gets rid of cards from your opponent's hand if, you know, are aggressive and put a ton of stuff out there. And in addition to that, it's just a 3-powered body that you can get on turn 1, which from what I've been told is not a bad thing. So yeah. Then I got Green Squadron A-Wing, a 2-cost space unit that's red and white, a 1/3, just so you know, and has raid 1. Same thing as Soldier of the 501st, but it costs 1 more and it's in space. I mean, for all the same reasons as why every single unit that I've talked about so far, it's just a good body, it does damage, and it's an aggressive deck. This is another white card, another heroic card that your opponent's wanting to kill, because, I mean, this does a lot of damage very quickly, let's be honest here. But yeah, this card actually, Green Squadron A-Wing has raid 2. I forgot about that. I'm very sorry about that, because a lot of you probably are already screaming at me down in the comments, but it has raid 2, which makes the opponent want to kill this thing even more. So there you go. Then I got Fifth Brother, a 3-cost red and black 2/4 that gets raid 1 for each damage on him, which doesn't seem insane until you look at his on attack, which reads, whenever he attacks, obviously, you may deal 1 damage to a ground unit, another ground unit, and 1 damage to Fifth Brother. So you put more power on Fifth Brother, effectively, but he does lose health. But in addition to that, you are dealing the damage to one of your opponent's things. Sure, it has to be a ground unit, but, like, you're slowly killing your opponent's things, which is a sub-theme of this deck if you need it to be. So no matter what, Fifth Brother is just a good card. Then there is Batch Brothers, a 3-cost red and white 2/1 that when played creates a Clone Trooper token, which is just a 2/2. So it's a 3-cost 4/3 effectively, but it comes in 2 bodies, which is actually very powerful for another card that I'll talk about here in a second. But getting past Batch Brothers, which again, just a solid card because go wide, white units early on, good. 7th Fleet Defender is up next. This card is nuts. It is not red, it is yellow and black, but it's a 3-cost 3/2 space unit that is shielded. So it's hard to kill, which is awesome. It comes in for a good amount in space, which is awesome. And, oh, by the way, it's a villainous card, which can get you value on the backside for Palpatine. So yeah, that's good. So the card is just generally going to be good, no matter what, because having a good space unit, no matter what, like, it really is doing, like, no matter what the ability is, if it's just a good statted, damage-dealing space unit, it's gonna be good. The opponent's gonna want to kill it. This thing is hard to kill, so that's just a bonus. For the same reasons, in a sense, Lurking TIE Phantom is up next, 3-cost yellow and black, 2/2, raid 2. So it's coming in for 4 every single turn, which the opponent hates that. But in addition to that, this thing is hard to kill. Then there's K2SO, a 4-cost red and white 4/4 of Overwhelm. Not an amazing body, but whenever he's defeated, you get to either have the opponent take 3 damage, which is, I mean, more damage, that's good in an aggressive deck, or you can have them discard a random card from their hand, which,
when you're wanting to fulfill the sub-theme of the deck, which is having the opponent get down to nothing in hand as quickly as possible, K2SO is very nice in that sense. Plus, when it dies, it can also do some value and stupid things with Palpatine on the front side.
Then there is Imperial Interceptor, a 4-cost red and black space unit, 3/2. When played, you deal 2 damage to a space unit. It's just a good card. It's just, I mean, it's not an insane body, unfortunately. It's not the best body in the world, but you do get to deal damage to the opponent's things. You get to kind of whittle down and make sure that they don't have as much good things in space, which is always a good thing for an aggressive deck. If you can control the space side of the arena, that is an amazing thing for you in an aggressive deck. That is an amazing feeling. Then, getting into the last couple of cards, these aren't really as much for, like, the aggressive side of the deck, but these are just more, like, if you need them for the later portions of the game, they're here, and they just help the deck in that sense, and they just have some really good closing power in that sense. So while it's not fulfilling the main clause of the deck, which is just rushing the opponent down, they do still do their job very well. Starting things off, I got Wrecker, a 6-cost red and white 7/6 Overwhelm on the ground. That's nuts. And then whenever you play Wrecker, you don't have to, but you may defeat one of your friendly resources to then deal 5 damage to a ground unit. That's good. Then there is Squadron of Vultures. when you look at this deck, some of this stuff might look a little bit strange, and this card might be one of the strangest looking ones. But this is secretly the best card in the deck. Why? Squadron Vultures is a 6-cost space unit, red and black, 5/4 with exploit 3. Doesn't seem that insane, right? But there is something very notable about this card, and that is its interaction with a couple of big parts of what this deck is wanting to do. Palpatine wants to get the train rolling as quickly as possible, getting value off of his abilities. And the most hard part of that is getting the train going, killing that first heroic unit. And this is the best way to do that, while also adding pressure to the board. And that can be as early as turn 2, it can be at turn 4, it can be at any point in the game. It can either start the train going very early, or it can just help you out more in the later portions of the game. But for the sake of this conversation, it can very easily get the train going by either you playing literally any unit on turn 1, and something like a Batch Brothers, which gets you 2 units, both of which are heroic. You then play the Squadron of Vultures, you sacrifice the unit that you played on turn 1 after you attack with it, and the Batch Brothers and the Clone Trooper that you make alongside it, and you play the Squadron of Vultures. Boom, you got a 5/4 space unit. That's nuts. So, that's one of the units that you just sacrificed, already replenished. You got 2 more things that you gotta make up. Then, now that one of your heroic things has died, you can start the Palpatine train, which is already amazing in and of itself. You get to draw a card, which very likely is going to be a unit. There are very few non-unit cards in this deck, so that's going to replace another unit down the road effectively. You gain some life, which is a bonus. Then you flip on to Palpatine's side, which the next time, the Darth Sidious side. So then, next turn, if you play a villainous card, which very likely you're going to, you get to make another thing, a Clone Trooper, which is just replacing the Clone Trooper that you got from the Batch Brothers the turn before, and you're dealing damage to the opponent's base, and you flip back to Palpatine, and you get the train going, and you get value turn after turn off of that. So Squadron Vultures is the easiest way to turn on the value train that is Palpatine/Sidious on turn 2. Very easily. Like, quite honestly, very easily. There are 6 1-cost cards in this deck for a reason, and there are a lot of very early drop white cards in this deck for a reason, because it is so incredibly easy to play Squadron Vultures on turn 2 and get the Palpatine going on turn 2 just by advancing your board. It might not look like it at first, but yeah, Squadron Vultures in the very early parts of the game is nuts for turning on Palpatine, and at any point in the game, it is going to get you value in some sense or another, whether it's helping you out with the front side of Palpatine, Chancellor Palpatine, or it's helping you out with the back side, Darth Sidious, or it's just being a solid unit to help you close out the game. No matter what, Squadron of Vultures is absurd in this deck, period. End of sentence. Then, there is Ruthless Raider, a 6-cost red and black space unit, 4/6. When played and whenever he's defeated, you deal 2 damage to a space unit and 2 damage to a unit and 2 damage to a base, which is nuts. Because, I mean, yeah, it's just a solid closer, and it deals damage to stuff, and it puts more pressure on the opponent. It's just another solid space unit. It's a one of, like, Wrecker, sure, but it is a very solid card nonetheless. Then, lastly, Emperor Palpatine, an 8-cost red and black 6/6 overwhelm that whenever you play him, you get to deal 6 damage divided as you choose them on enemy units. It's like a mini, what's-its-face? Overwhelming Barrage on a big fat unit. Amazing closer. Probably the best closer in the entire deck, to be honest with you. Well, Wrecker might be better. But still, Emperor Palpatine is a very solid one. And then, getting past kind of like the whole rushy down main game plan of the deck, which is just rushing the opponent down, playing a big thing in the later portions of the game, whether it's a Squadron of Vultures, the single copy of Wrecker, Ruthless Raider, or Palpatine, or another card that I'll talk about here in a little bit. Getting past all that, let's get into the more sub-theme parts of the deck, the damage-dealing sub-themes, and the discard sub-themes of the deck. I've already talked about some of these cards. As far as damage-dealing, sub-theme goes, let's go over that one first. I've talked about Fifth Brother, which is a very powerful one. I've talked about Imperial Interceptor, which is a powerful one. I've talked about Wrecker, which is a good closer that also fulfills that. Ruthless Raider and Emperor Palpatine are also both two very powerful ones. But one that I haven't gone over yet is Force Choke, a 2-cost red and black event. It is one of the few events in this deck, and it reads, if you control a Force unit, this costs 1 less, which is good, but you realistically do not need this for this card to be good. It's just a bonus. But as far as the effect goes, you deal 5 damage to a non-vehicle unit, and then its controller draws a card. Just dealing 5 damage, boom, out of nowhere to a non-vehicle unit is bonkers nuts. Then getting to some of the more discardy sub-themes of the deck, I've talked about Lothal Insurgent, which is a very powerful one. I've talked about K2SO, which is a very good one. I think those are the only ones that I've gone over so far. There are a couple more that I do want to go over. The first one being Pillage, a 4-cost. This is the only other event in the deck. 4-cost red event, and this is also the only card in the deck that is not either villainous or heroic, which doesn't help with Palpatine at all, but trust me when I say, this is very much so worth having 3 copies of it in the deck. Because Pillage is a 4-cost event that says, choose a player, they discard 2 cards from their hand. Whether you are playing the aggressive game plan or not, this card is just nuts. I mean, you get the opponent down to 2 cards in hand, and that's likely going to be some of the most powerful cards in their hand, and is going to allow them to kill you or get a ton of pressure out on you on the board and just make your life harder. And then you play something like Pillage, and then boom, all their closing power is gone out of nowhere. They just lost a ton of power. You lost 1 card in your hand that, sure, doesn't really forward your game plan at all. If you're playing the rushdown game plan, it does forward your game plan if you're wanting to get the opponent down to nothing. But either way, Pillage will do work, no matter what. This card is right there with Squadron of Vultures. It does so much work in this deck without really looking like it does, and it is not even funny. Then the last it's 2 cards, but either way, 2 cards I want to go over. In a sense, it's 1, but Xanadu Blood, I want to talk about first. It's a 6-cost space unit. This is the only other one of big closer in the deck that I haven't talked about yet. It is a space unit. It is yellow and black. It's a 4/6 with raid 2, and whenever you play or attack with this guy, you don't have to, return a friendly non-leader underworld card to your hand, or unit to your hand, and if you do, you get to exhaust another unit or resource. An enemy unit or resource. Doesn't seem that big of a deal until you look at Bazine Natal, another 2 of in the deck, like Imperial Interceptor. But Bazine Natal is a 2-cost, white and black, 1/3 with Smuggle for 4 resources, which can matter sometimes because likely you don't really play this that often, and you can smuggle it out if you need to get value out of it later on, which is always a bonus. But yeah, 2-cost, 1/3, or a 4-cost if you're smuggling there, 1/3. When played, you get to look at the opponent's hand, discard a card from their hand, and then they get to draw a card. They're not technically losing a card from their hand, but they are losing the best card from their hand, which is insane. And Bazine Natal is an Underworld card, very notably. So you play a Bazine Natal, or you have a Bazine Natal out, and then you play your Xanadu Blood and attack with Xanadu Blood. The second you play Xanadu Blood, you get to bounce Bazine back to your hand. And then you get to play her again, and you get to strip the best card from your opponent's hand. Then Xanadu Blood, you attack with it on the next turn. It bounces Bazine back to your hand. You play Bazine again. You get rid of the best card from the opponent's hand. While this is a thing that is very easy to disrupt, either killing the Bazine or killing the Xanadu Blood, it is very easy to disrupt, yes. But that is getting cards out of the opponent's hand. In either way, this is something that the opponent needs to deal with and is taking pressure off of you and they're putting it into other places, allowing you to get a little bit of breathing room, if you need it, to play some of your big beaters to close out the game, or get the last little bit of value on your board to close out the game with Palpatine, or Sidious, or whatever, you know? Bazine Natal, Xanadu Blood, it's a little small combo in the deck, but it is a devastating one if the opponent doesn't deal with it, and if they do deal with it, it is nothing but upsides for you. So yeah. With all that aside, I hope you all enjoyed this deck tech video. I know it might have been a little bit of a longer one. I'm sorry that I've been gone for a while. Just life, you know? Life's life. But yeah, with all that aside, I hope you all enjoyed this video because trust me when I say I saw Palpatine, I wanted to make a good deck for him, and I think this is the best deck for Palpatine that I have seen, and I think I will see. So, with all that aside, I hope you all enjoy this deck. Again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It's completely free, you won't regret it. And see you next time.